names racing in Grand Prix cars they had in the 20s and 30s, and of course now very famous Bugatti Veyron.
Here we go. Yeah, wait for it. Is he going to give it something? Oh, the turning circle, man. He's pretty cool. Oh, we managed to get it into gear.
And so we move on from one famous Italian mark, Bugatti, to Lancia, who celebrated the 170th of their Lancia model, which was made in 1921. But the first car out is a Vita Torpedo Sport. So a lovely story with this is a 1917 car. It was actually discovered in a bus depot in Northampton. Because apparently after the Second World War, there was very cheap war surplus cars from around the world. And these people in Britain, in Northampton, bought, and they actually had 17 chassis. They bought 17 of these Vitas. Because it's a ladder chassis, so you change the bodywork on top. They took the Torpedo Sports bodywork off and put bus bodywork on top of them and used them for buses in the 1950s. And that was where 17 of these cars were found in a very bad state in 1973. They were taken out, or this one was taken out, had a body put back on it, recreated, has now been owned by Roland Gracebrook for 48 years. He actually bought it at that bus depot on April Fool's Day in 1973 and has driven it now 30,000 miles. Oh, by the way, it's for sale. If you're going to want to own a Vita Torpedo, go and have a chat to him in the paddock and offer him. So now we have our first Lambda coming out. This is a car that changed automotive engineering because it's that part of the birth of modern motoring. It had 4 pioneering innovations, which included a monocoque body instead of the ladder chassis we talked about, so you couldn't change the bodywork. It was all part of the structure that the suspension was on, which all modern cars are, of course. It's got independent front suspension for the first time. It's actually got 4-wheel braking, which was quite unusual back then, and a V4 engine. The car in front of you is a third series of a Torpedo Lambda from 1924. This has been driven to Italy about 6 times. It's constantly used for a holiday car in Europe. But this car was bought straight to the UK, brand new from Lancia, for £675, which back then apparently was the cost of a 3-bedroom house. So think of what a 3-bedroom house costs now, and that's what a Lancia Lambda cost you back in 1924. Next out, we're up to 1927. Now, some of the Lambdas went back to being a ladder chassis, and this is one of those. So this is a torpedo bodywork on a ladder chassis. It has a longer wheelbase on it, it's very much moved forward. There's a wonderful story about this car because a young girl called Pat Ewer, back in 1951, had a boyfriend that was driving this very car you're looking at now, ML2972, around London. But the boyfriend sold the car and it disappeared and it went into, just fell apart. But in 1978, the car came back on the market. Pat Ewer, now 27 years older, saw it on the market and bought the car that she'd first been driven with her boyfriend and had it fully restored. It's now very much part of the family. Her daughter now drives it a lot. She's out there now. Apparently she's at the wheel at this very moment, so certainly give her. And interesting that she did a rally in Ireland and it kept on breaking down, a lot of problems, and they decided all the problems were due to Murphy's Law, which of course is a fabled story in Ireland. So that's actually called Murphy. So I very much love the long-owned car. So that's heading your way. Quickly following, they're going out fast today. I like them going fast, a little bit early. 92 BF 7K14, the bright red one. That's an 8 Series Lampard, a torpedo long base as well. Great story, this brand new. It was sold to an Indian, lived its life in India in 1929. It was then bought from Indian, made taken to Hong Kong in 1967 before being brought back to Britain and thoroughly restored. So it's always great that these cars have travelled to different owners and headed round. So it's a wonderful car. History. Heritage. Well, we quickly move on from the Lambdas for our last Lancia, this little pale blue 1938 Aprilia. This is a very lightweight saloon, only 850 kilograms. Cars were getting lighter at top speed of 80 miles an hour and handled really nicely. And so this is actually the last car developed by the famous designer Vincenzo Lancia, who died sadly in 1937. So this was like, remember like Ferrari, the last car he signed off with the F40, well this is the last car signed off by Vincenzo Lancia. Funny enough, it's actually owned now by Mr. Ferrari, Cesare, who's owned it for 9 years but doesn't have a Ferrari, he's got a Lancia. So this car was actually completed in 1938 and was sold straight into England and had many owners since, and actually lived for a long time in Scotland. I'm told that the light blue colour, I don't believe this, I think, sorry, where's my expert? It says here, it's a light shade of St. Patrick's blue, the ancient heraldry colour of Ireland. Well, I'll, you know, obviously if you want to speak to my experts and have an argument with them about that, please do so. So, a little Lancia. And when that beautiful little blue car cruises by, give them all a clap from here. You don't hear you. Thank them for showing their wonderful cars up your line avenue. Thank you all for coming out here, waving at them and enjoying your day. You've still got to believe, when does the show close, expert? 7 o'clock, so you've still got an hour and a half to wander around, or 2.5, 4:30, 5:30. 2.5 hours more of the show being open. I think I need a beer now. Am I allowed a beer yet, expert? Lovely to have you here. Thanks from Disney Dells, all of you, signing off.